And welcome to Advanced Weekly Update. My name is Brandon.
And I'm Linda.
So great to see you guys. Thank you for joining us live, and we're hoping that you're having a great start to your new year, but if you're not, tomorrow's a new day. All right, we'll just pick up and start from there. This week we have a lot of articles, of course, as usual, but we're focusing on our parenting article, Want to Raise Successful Kids. So we're asking this question, and you may be saying, well, I'm not a parent. Maybe you never want to be a parent, but we can also reflect on our upbringing and how that affects us, right, Linda?
Right. We all had parents, and so we have experience of being kids. So we'll have some insight on that.
Absolutely. And right off the bat, which means right here at the beginning, I want to put the poll up, give you guys a chance to take this throughout our live stream. And so you can go ahead and you can take that poll as we have this discussion. Let's take a look at it. It says, what do you think kids need to learn about the most, right? With regards to, like, you're a parent, or maybe when you were a kid, what do you think is really helpful for kids to learn about? Is it hard work? Is it manners? How about emotional intelligence or their passions? We talk about these items in our article, and all of them we could take a while to talk about. What do you think about these different options here, Linda? Which one would you choose?
Well, I think they're all important.
Of course.
But I think as parents, you want to be you are a role model to your kids.
Whether you want to be or not.
Exactly. So you want to model good behavior in all of these areas, Like my parents, they taught me a very good work ethic, So teaching your kids how to work hard, to do your best, to put your best foot forward. That's very important. And things my parents didn't necessarily point out to me, this is how you do it, but just watching them,
they modeled it,
yes, right? I would learn from them. So manners, it's because my parents had manners, and that is how they treated other people. So I would treat people in a similar way, with politeness, with manners, giving people respect.
Absolutely. All right. So you talked about hard work and manners. I really like number 4, their passions, right? And maybe you have more than one kid and they have different passions, right? And sometimes we want to compare them to the other sibling, and that's not helpful for them, right? And they don't like it, and it's not helpful for them. So I think really, what is that individual kid's passions? Are they into music? Are they into sports? Are they into nature? What is it that they like doing? What are they good at? What are they gifted in? And how can you help them develop passions for that? It takes a lot of time, I think, to do that, but the payoff is great because it will help them in the long run.
Exactly. And every child is different. You've probably heard that before. But just because one child does this a certain way or likes this doesn't mean the other child will also like doing it that way. So you have to look at each child individually and, see what they like and see what they prefer and encourage them in those areas.
And I don't want to forget number 3 on our poll, emotional intelligence. We talk about that a lot of the time in advance, but it's really important. And Linda, I think this can often be overlooked because you can't measure that as much.
Exactly.
You go to school, you get a grade for math or English or whatever, and that's measurable. And emotional intelligence can often be overlooked, but I think it's probably just as important, if not maybe more important, because it leads to things like mental health, right?
Yes,
and
definitely.
Influences that.
From early on, you can teach your kids to manage their emotions, because that's something that is so important that isn't usually taught. It's not taught in school and it's not addressed in the home, but it's something that is so important, like you said, Brandon. We have to be able to understand what we're feeling and why we're feeling a certain way, because that affects how we react, how we treat other people, how we respond to situations. And so we have to be aware of our emotions and know how to handle them in the right way.
Right, and that can help your kids down the road, right, when they're an adult, interacting with other people at work or wherever it may be. Emotional intelligence really makes a big difference. All right, let's take a look at our poll so far. So no one is saying hard work so far. I think it's because everyone just takes that for granted, right? They think, of course, hard work, especially here in this culture. See lots of people working hard, so maybe that's why it's a given. That's a good phrase. All right, manners 17%, emotional intelligence 50%. That's good to see that. And just went down to 43 though, and then their passions is 29%. All right, so that's a look at our poll. Let's look at our article a little bit more and some of the tips that they talk about. They mentioned specifically helping kids to do their chores or making kids do their chores. Did you have chores?
I did, yes. We had to do things around the house. And of course, like as kids, you don't want to do housework, you know? It's boring, it takes away from your playtime. But it's really important to learn how to do those things, forming good habits. Because if you form good habits when you're young, you'll have those when you're older, and you don't have to force yourself to do these things.
What was your
automatic?
Sorry, Lynn. What was your least favorite chore? Do you remember?
I think it was watering the plants.
Okay, all right.
Like I just didn't like watering the plants, and that's affecting me up to today. Like I can't keep a plant alive, you know.
That was my next question. All right.
Maybe I had learned to water or like take care of the plants better. I would be a better caretaker of plants.
Horticulturalist?
Yeah.
Something. All right. What did your parents do to like reward you? Or was there a reward system? Or was it just like do this and because I said so?
It was more of the latter. Yeah. We didn't have allowance. You know, a lot of American families like give allowance to their kids, but we didn't get that. I mean, we would get rewarded in different ways, but not specifically for doing our chores. Like we got more rewards for doing well in school or, you know, achieving something, but not doing daily chores that we're supposed to do.
Yeah. So an allowance, maybe you would get, for example, you know, $5 a week for doing your chores.
Did you get an allowance?
Maybe sometimes. I don't remember. But yeah, some kids do that. So chores are important. My least favorite chore was like dusting. Like, you know, you take a rag and you dust off things. There's so much dongqi like on top of the table. It's like really mafan to do that.
But I liked cleaning because you saw like before and after. So after I cleaned, I could see results, you know? Maybe with watering the plants, I didn't see them immediately growing, so I didn't, you know, have that sense of achievement.
Like with the word cleaning, that's a strong word. I don't know about that. All right, let's get to our question of the week. So maybe some of you, if you have time, you could just go ahead and answer this right now. We'd love to hear from you. Our question is, what is something positive you learned from your parents? So we've been talking about different things that you can learn. Maybe you're teaching your kids chores and how to be polite and so forth. But what is something positive you learned from your parents? Maybe not related to anything in the article. Go ahead and take time to answer that if you have time.
I have to say, like, even though I'm not a parent, parenting is probably the hardest job that you'll ever have in this world. You know, and it's so important. Like if you don't have to, if you're thinking about it, like it's something that you should really. It should be a decision that you make. Like,
absolutely. So I'm about 7 weeks in to having a kid, and I can attest to that. It is very challenging, and I think the mother's job is even far more challenging, right? In a lot of cases, of course, it depends on each family situation, but in general, I think the mom has an incredibly difficult job. And so it is hard to really do that as a parent. But I think one thing we go back to is being a positive role model. And I'm wondering if there's some things that you learned from your parents that were positive. There's something that sticks out for you?
Well, I mentioned earlier, like they taught me a good work ethic and just being generous. Like I saw my parents always helping people who, friends or people at church who are in need, and they did it very willingly. Yeah. So that was a very good example for me and my siblings.
Yes, very good. Those are important things to learn. Rose says that she learned to be kind to others. That's really important to learn from our parents. Thank you for the congratulations, by the way, Rose. And Sophie says to always stick to your dream, and she learned that from her dad. And so, yeah, to dream big. Sometimes we forget to do that. We get lost in the tasks that we're doing, and so we forget to dream big. I think something I learned from my parents, similar to Linda, is hard work, the value in hard work. I learned that, I think, from both of my parents, but I would say, like, especially from my dad, I think he tried to instill that into us. And I think that's important. It's also important to rest, though.
Yes.
So don't forget that. It's not a one-sided thing, but yes, hard work is truly important.
And parents are there to keep us grounded, you know, to keep us practical, but also, like Sophie said, her father encouraged her to live out her dreams, and that's what parents should be doing too, like encouraging their kids to pursue their passions and their dreams.
Right, that word encouragement. Sometimes as parents, we can be so focused on what our kids didn't do that we forget to encourage them to do good things, right? And you can like roll those together somehow. Some parents maybe have that kind of magical way of doing that, where you're encouraging them in the right direction without like making them feel totally defeated, right?
Yeah. I was wondering, what do you think? Some parents believe that they should be best friends with their kids. What do you think about that?
That's a great question. I think that's a dangerous road to go down. Not that you want to be, totally authoritative, like making sure that they just follow all the rules and not connect. I think you should really connect with your kids, but I don't think you should try to be their best friend. I think there's a difference. I think it's super important to connect with them, and on an emotional level, a lot of times that's hard for parents to do, but I think that's different than being a best friend. Let's take a look at some of the responses. Jen Hong says, no, 这个不对. This is something else. It's a robot. That's a bot who got in there. All right. I won't read just anything that's there. All right. Alan Chen says, my mom shows me to help those in need. This is also really important, to take time out for others and to put others before ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any more comments there, Rose? No? Any more comments? Okay, no more comments. And I think our time is up. Well, we hope that this time has been good for you to reflect on your upbringing, or if you're a new parent, we hope that this is helpful, or maybe you're an old parent but you have grandkids or whatever. You can implement some of these ideas if you haven't done so already. Yes. One more comment. Luna, thank you. My parents always tell me to stay healthy, drink water, eat vegetables and fruit, and to go to sleep early. Those things are always important to remember. Our parents are there to help guide us and all of that. Rose, you're welcome. She says thanks, and we thank you all for joining us today. And if you haven't become a member yet, click join now. You'll become our exclusive advanced member. You'll get extra content for only 150 NT per month. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next time here on Advanced Weekly Update next Monday at 1 o'clock.
Bye.
Okay.
谢谢。